want to think beyond 5 moves, such as an annual offsite meeting or when you're analyzing a possible acquisition or building a colony on Mars, thinking too many moves ahead can lead to paralysis by analysis. 5 moves is enough to make sure you are anticipating future outcomes and seeing moves and counter moves. The second reason is that on a macro level, there are 5 moves you need to master to succeed in business. I've divided the book into 5 moves to make sure you know exactly what you need to do to achieve success. There are many things I can't do. I'm 6'5", 240 pounds, but can't play basketball or throw a football. I can't write code or rebuild an engine from scratch, but if there's one thing I can do, it's help entrepreneurs and C-suite executives put together a strategy to conquer a market. When I sit down in a boardroom with a founder or a CEO, we approach strategy as a game. The only difference between business and chess, or Monopoly or Final Fantasy for that matter, is that we're playing for millions or billions of dollars instead of bragging rights. With this mindset, leaders learn how to create the strategies that position them for growth. As an advisor to executives and a guide to students and aspiring entrepreneurs, one of the most common questions I get is, should I quit my job to start a business? Other frequent questions are, should I raise money by giving up equity or issuing debt? How do I set up my compensation structure to attract and retain C-suite executives or 1099-based sales team? Should I expand globally now or wait until market conditions change? The simple questions in business are binary. Their answer is either yes or no. The trap is believing that all answers are binary. The answer to any question is actually a series of moves deployed in the proper sequence. Experts often make things worse by giving yes or no answers as if everyone fits into the same box. That's why, as you'll see, our first move is figuring out who you are and what you want. The other problem I see is lack of planning. Enthusiasm can be powerful as long as it's coupled with planning 5 moves ahead. Too many people want to make move number 5 without first going through the first 4 moves. There's a sequence to it. To reach the next level, you have to shift from one track and one move, thinking to seeing many moves ahead. If you are clear that you want to be an entrepreneur, quitting your job may be move 4, or it could lead to a series of moves to create lucrative position within your current company, becoming an entrepreneur, which we'll cover in chapter number 3. If you have a family and don't have any savings, quitting your job is definitely not move 1. In fact, you may not ever have to quit your job to become exactly who you want to be. The information in this book applies to people in all phases of life and at all levels of business. You may be a CFO who loves being a CFO or a freelancer who enjoys the variety and flexibility of being a solopreneur. One of the things I love so much about business is that there's a path for everyone, as long as you have self-awareness and the willingness to think 5 moves ahead. Regardless of which sequence fits your circumstances, what sets shrewd strategists apart is their ability to anticipate. The best military leaders have a knack for planning several moves ahead. The top fighters know how to set up their opponent. They may be willing to lose round 1 because a move that seems to be working against them early in the fight is actually being used to bait their opponent into a mistake in a later round. World-class poker players do the same thing, making a bluff and sacrificing chips early in the game to set into motion a series of moves that will ultimately bust their opponent. And though we don't necessarily think of Warren Buffett as a chess master, his sustained success comes from his patient, strategic approach. Buffett isn't trying to win a particular trade or even the quarter or year. He's making a series of moves to win the long game. NBA legend Kobe Bryant told me less than 6 months before his tragic death that when he was 13, he already knew he wanted to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. At that time, he was the 56th ranked player in the nation. He created a hit list of all the names ahead of him until 5 years later, he passed them all and became a first-round draft pick out of high school. Rumor has it that Michael Jordan used playing for the 1992 U.S. Olympic Dream Team as a way to learn the weaknesses of his teammates and used those weaknesses against them when he returned to the NBA. Both of these two players were master strategists who were always thinking at least 5 moves ahead. You will need to think this way too, especially if you plan on competing in your market and eventually dominating your industry. In this audiobook, I'll give you everything you need to think like a master strategist. I'm also going to show you how to, number 1, differentiate yourself and communicate your unique value. Number 2, find investors and build a high valuation for a lucrative exit. Number 3, attract top talent and design incentives to cultivate and keep them. Number 4, maintain systems.